Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 25 career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we take on the Qatar weekend. It's a sprint weekend, so it's going to be action-packed, and the sprints this season have been quite ecstatic to say the least, as we've got 2 rounds on the season remaining with Qatar and Abu Dhabi, and we are coming off of big events in Las Vegas. Crucially for Connor Sport, we got a double podium, the first podium in the team's history, second for myself, third for Aiden Jackson, as we come runner-up to Oscar Piastri in his second win of the season. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen was able to defend his previous 4 championships and win his 5th consecutive world title in Formula 1. He goes into these final 2 rounds stress-free here, as we are coming in continuing to attempt to prove, what we just did in Las Vegas. And this is a circuit that has some similarities in terms of at least straight line speed. We have a lot of straightaways here, specifically that front straightaway, but it's just overall quite a high speed circuit. So I am hopeful that we could repeat the same successes that we had from Las Vegas, but of course only time is going to tell. Now, I apologize for the lack of videos last week. I was at my girlfriend's and she lost her internet because of our cat that decided to eat the cable for the modem, and well, she had no Wi-Fi for several days, which we originally thought it was only going to be a day or so, which wasn't a problem at that point, but turned into a multi-day event. But we're back, and now I've got a backlog of videos, so I guess it kind of works out to kind of really get things going here. So SQ1 here, we were at the top of the board while Aiden Jackson was P11, in practice. And now we jump into SQ1 and looking to still be at the top of the board here now as we would get ready to roll. This is such a fun racetrack to drive. I've been a big fan of this circuit ever since it came onto the F1 calendar and back in F1 23, and having a blast in that game at this track. And even in F1 24, as bad as that game was, it was at least this track was bearable. And now we come into F1 25 for the first time, and I was having quite a bit of fun driving this track here. So coming in SQ1, pretty straightforward here through the final turn, down the front straightaway for our first attempt in qualifying. We cross the stripe, we go P5, pretty competitive. That would be enough to get both myself and Aiden Jackson through round 1. He ends up P9, out in SQ1, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto, Antonelli in 19th. Still don't know what his future looks like. We'll have to wait and see here after the conclusion of this first season in F1 25. Now, as we round the final turn in SQ2 down the front straightaway, and again, we were quite competitive. P8 and P9, however, we would drop to 10th. Meanwhile, Jackson out. He drops to the 12th position. Aston Martin's looking a bit slow this weekend after having some great races as of late. As we come into SQ3 and watch this right here, Carlos Sainz actually going to be planted directly in the racing line. Ruins my first attempt. We would have to go for a second lap, so we of course save up some battery, let Carlos know I wasn't a huge fan of what just happened, and on my final lap of qualifying here, through the long sweeping final right-hander, hard on the throttle, down the front straightaway, DRS open now to the line, and it is going to be, hold on, still waiting, P9. So not great, not bad, but I feel like honestly overall that's probably about where we are. So Verstappen will start P1 over Piastri, Leclerc, Albon up there in 4th with as well Carlos Sainz in 5th. So Williams looking strong as we jump straight into the grid, ready to go racing here for the Qatar sprint now, and thankful that after today we get a break from sprints for a while. Of course, the sprints are kind of just thrown into the back half of the calendar, which is really, really annoying. But we get ready to roll here for the sprint. 10 laps of racing lined up behind 7-time Lewis Hamilton. Lights out, we're racing here from Qatar for the 10-lap sprint. Now, Tsunoda splits the middle between myself and George Russell. On the run into turn 1, we'll try to keep it pinned around the outside. Sainz, a poor start, drops from out of the top 5 down to P7. Contact there with the Japanese driver in the Red Bull. More contact there. We give him a bit of a hand of displeasure, I would say. What are you doing there, bud? But that was more on me. I felt like now as we go a little bit wide, we take a warning for exceeding track limits now. Sonoda around the outside of Russell through the double right-handers. We stay clear on my teammate of Hayden Jackson, and now towards the hairpin, of course, one of the heavier braking zones and slowest corners on the circuit. They're still going to be wheel-to-wheel. Russell trying to keep this thing pinned around the outside. Mercedes has put a lot of focus in this final half of 2025 into their 2026 car. They have barely developed this Mercedes in this last half of the season, and it has shown. Of course, they have dropped off a cliff in terms of performance, but they had such a strong first half this season that they've been able to hang on. In the constructor standings, we go wide, opening the door for my teammate of Hayden Jackson to slip through. He is rebounded into P10 as I've dropped down to 11th from starting 9th. Not a great start to this race. As we come to lap 2, around goes Isaac Hadjar into the barrier. No safety car. We stay green, but his race is over, and we continue on here in P11. So no safety car to my surprise. I mean, he destroyed that car as we come through now the hairpin following my teammate who goes around. Jackson spun all on his lonesome. Yellow out in the background, and again, no safety car. We stay green as we continue, and now we have a big buffer to the cars behind. And as well, completely forgot to talk about tire strategy. A lot of drivers choosing mediums, but a lot of drivers as well going softs, including myself. And we are now on lap 4, bringing the fight to Yuki Tsunoda, and we breeze by him and move up into P9. Keep in mind, though, in the sprints, only 8 drivers score points. Got to be top 8, and unfortunately, I didn't quite have enough pace to really put these softs to, work and run down George Russell. So I kind of stalled out here in 9th. I drove away a couple of seconds on Tsunoda, who just doesn't seem to have the pace here. And I don't think it's the medium tires, because Russell, Sainz, everybody in front of me, the mediums are working out pretty well. But Tsunoda had dropped 5 seconds back. Meanwhile, I had lost out of the cars in front. Charles Leclerc would take the win in the sprint over Lando Norris, as well as Piastri and Verstappen. As for myself, it was only good enough for P9, so clearly we don't have the same speed that we had in Las Vegas, and we just kind of have to accept the fact on that one. I do believe we can do better than P9 depending on how we play our cards in the race, when we can actually bring some strategy into the conversation, but Leclerc picks up your sprint win, and it was pretty simple for me. I had really no fight at all after, of course, what you saw earlier. So Hayden Jackson ends up down in 18th. Antonelli went from 19th to 15th, a solid effort there. Hadjar, of course, with the DNF, and we'll jump straight into qualifying now for the main Grand Prix. Same scenario, Q1 out of the final turn. Look at the leaderboard. Myself, Jackson, Russell, 15th, 16th, 17th. We improve. Jackson's barely going to make it through. He's the last one in, but both Mercedes out. Russell and Antonelli out in Q1. I mean, they are surely excited to get this season done with now. Q2, Jackson again is not going to make it into Q3. He was only good enough for 12th. As for me, I'm going to bump him down a spot as we move up into P7. So overall, pretty happy with that kind of lap. Jackson will start P12 tomorrow night, as Alonso's there in 14th over Hulkenberg and Hadjar. So we come into Q3 now, and you guys remember in SQ3, we had some issues with getting held up behind cars for the first time this season, and as we come through our lap here in Q3, making sure I have no traffic around me at this point now, as we come towards the end of our lap, just making a lap all on my lonesome at this point. How about Esteban Ocon up there in P6? I mean, Haas overall had great speed in Vegas. Ocon showing it again here in Qatar. We cross the stripe, we go P8, will it stick? That's the big question. It would. P8 is where we'll start here in Qatar. Hamilton and Tsunoda behind us. It's a McLaren front row lockout between Norris and Piastri over Leclerc, Verstappen, and again, Carlos Sainz as we get ready to roll.
Welcome back to Qatar and the Lusail International Circuit, a track that has a long history for two-wheeled motorsport action. But tonight, it's the four wheels of F1 that are back, and Lewis Hamilton going for another win here. So we're back here in Lusail, and this is the track map. 3.34 miles, 16 turns, and just one DRS zone out of turn 16. It's already a fast and flowing track after all. There's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS, though, through the long straight and into turn 1. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Carlos Sainz and Ocon. Albon, Golden Boy, Tsunoda and Lewis Hamilton, Jackson, Behrman, Fernando Alonso and Hülkenberg, Russell, Antonelli, Liam Lawson and Lance Stroll, Bortoletto, Doohan, Hadjar and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a fun race. We'll be starting on the mediums. We'll be doing a one-stop, so we will be jumping onto the hard compound tire as we get ready to race here. Formation lap underway.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out.
We see some differing strategy, 13th through 20th, all electing to go on softs. Every other car on the mediums here, very straightforward here tonight.
As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Now, this is going to be interesting because it doesn't seem like tire wear is as significant as it's been in previous games in Qatar. So I don't really expect to see, that really become a thing. Tire saving, no, it feels like we're more or less going to be going hard all race long, which is not like Qatar from previous games. Nonetheless, McLaren 1-2, Conesport 8th, and outside of the top 10 for my teammate of Aiden Jackson. The Qatar Grand Prix is going to be underway. We're racing here under the lights again for the second back-to-back weekend, and it'll be 3 straight weeks of night racing to cap off the season. And how about Charles Leclerc, who's back into the conversation? After winning the sprint, he might have to settle for P2 on the start. Hold on. He's going to bring the fight to Lando Norris, trying to make it stick. He can't quite make it happen. He'll have to settle for P2, but he still gains ground on the opening start of this Qatar Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon is going after Carlos Sainz. They're side by side just in front of myself. Tsunoda is side by side with the other Williams of Alex Albon, but now he's been clear and now he'll hang on to that position as we'll settle in behind Alex Albon here now. That was Verstappen, not Tsunoda there in P6 in that Red Bull. So Tsunoda's just behind myself with Lewis Hamilton there in P10 as we try to just set ourselves up well. You can really see Dirty Air kind of throwing the nose a little bit wide there off the car. That was something that I was noticing here in Qatar, is if you're running a little bit too close to the car in front of you, that Dirty Air was genuinely affecting your car, and it was, especially through here, these double right-handers having to lift a lot more. So you just got to kind of be ready for that. I mean, you can see it right there. I mean, that is not the setup of the car. That is Dirty Air throwing me not sideways, but wide off the corner there. Of course, you just can't quite get the car to turn through that Dirty Air. You see a bit of ghosting there at the conclusion of lap 1 as we actually bring the fight alongside Alex Albon into the double right-handers, and we're clear. There we go, into P7 now as we can chase down Max Verstappen maybe, as well as Esteban Ocon. We're already running better than what we did in the sprint. Look at the track map though. You got a 3-car runaway at the front. Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, they have all driven away as Ocon and Sainz, they're fighting side by side on lap 3 through the double right-handers now as Verstappen is ready to pounce. We're ready to pounce as well as we wait for these guys to kind of get things sorted out. Now Tsunoda shows the nose, couldn't quite make anything happen now into turn 1, lap 4. You see Ocon clear as Verstappen's going to go the long way around. Sainz completed the pass there. Nice move from Verstappen as he continues to go forward. Esteban Ocon's going to be a sitting duck. He would easily get overtaken by Verstappen, who moves up into 4th, and he is free to go and run down the top 3 drivers as Norris is starting to put a bit of a gap on 2nd and 3rd of Leclerc and Piastri. As for myself here on lap 5 of this race, just kind of settled in, and I feel like we got a bit better car than where we're at. So I think we can still make some passes, including a pass right here. Now, Piastri through on Leclerc. There you go, up into P2 for the Australian driver coming off his 2nd win of the season. I mentioned it in Vegas. I think that as long as McLaren do their job in this offseason for these regulation changes for 2026, I think Piastri is going to be a serious force to be reckoned with. I think McLaren and specifically Norris as well, I think they're going to come out of the gate a lot stronger, and that's going to be the difference maker. I would be shocked if Verstappen is champion next season to go 6 in a row as we now go for a move here around the outside side of Sainz into turn number 1, and we kind of chomp his nose a little bit, but we were clear at least there. Into P6 we go. Esteban Ocon, you're up next. I mean, we are showing a lot more pace here in the Grand Prix. Very different tire strategies going on, of course, and I think that's playing a bit of a difference now as Sainz was starting to kind of drop back a little bit as we go down the front straightaway. Lap 11 of 29. Rear wing open, using overtake to get us closer up the inside here of the Frenchman of Ocon into turn 1, clear before we even hit the corner entry into the 5th position. But I fear we don't have anything more than this. I mean, look at Verstappen. He's nearly driven 7 seconds up the road. He is closing in. He is clearly maybe one of the fastest cars, if not the fastest, as we've got yellow flags behind us, and it's a Haas. It's only Behrman, fellow Rookie of the Year contender, going to be done for the night here in Qatar. Pulls over with a mechanical failure. Early race enders. We've already got pit stops kicking off for those drivers on soft compound tires. You see a Mercedes pitting, an Aston Martin, a Kick Sauber. They've already come in, made their pit stops. Kick Sauber in their final 2 races before, of course, the Audi rebranding next season, as we're going to come into the pits. I have a mess of getting into the pit lane there, but we come into the pits at the end of lap 13, coming to 14, and we'll get on the hard compound tire and race hard to the end of this race. And as I said, you know, the tire wear, it wasn't looking like it was going to be as significant as it usually is in Qatar in previous games, and I was confirmed of that fact, because the tires, they're just not wearing a whole lot, so you can push these tires really as hard as you want. So we're going to be running a little over 15 laps to conclude this Grand Prix on this hard compound tire, and it's kind of nice knowing that I can push basically 100%, but at the same time it's kind of disappointing, you know. Tire management is such a cool aspect of motorsports, and not only has Formula One struggled with this in recent years, but NASCAR has fallen victim to it as well, where tires just don't mean as much as they used to, and there's a lot more ability now for drivers to just push 100% throughout a race, and that takes a lot out of the races, I feel like, personally. So nonetheless, we continue on here, fighting our race, and we're already netting out to P5 once this cycle completes. We just have to wait for Fernando Alonso to pit, or we can go up there and pass him. He's on that 2-stop strategy, actually. So he went on to a second set of softs, and we are running him down pretty quickly as we come to lap 18. I mean, we are within a few car lengths of him at this point now. Verstappen is up to 3rd, passing Charles Leclerc out of the final turn, lap 18. We've run down Alonso, but he's going to pit. So he comes in. That puts us into the 5th position. Norris, Piastri up at the front at this point now, when they have got a very fast Max Verstappen creeping up into the picture there in their rear view mirrors, so they got to pay attention to that, maybe not fight each other very hard. But as we come to lap 21, 10 laps to go, Piastri having a look up the inside of Lando Norris here for the lead, but it's not going to work. Norris maintains. Verstappen in 3rd position, only a couple of seconds back now as Leclerc has kind of dropped off over the course of this Grand Prix, but he's still having a solid run here now as we run in that 5th position. Connor Sport, what a season it's been for this new team in Formula One. Sainz and Albon 6th and 7th over Lewis Hamilton. Esteban Ocon looking to score a couple of points for Haas as well. Sonoda there rounding out the top 10. George Russell, after missing Q2, up to P11. Antonelli not bad either in 14th position. He's right behind this battle between another rookie on the grid of Bortoletto, going at it with fellow Canadian of Lance Stroll. My teammate of Aiden Jackson right here on the conversation as well in the 15th spot. Not a whole lot he can really do as these two continue to fight side by side. The iconic number 5 on that green and black Kick Sauber, of course, known as Sebastian Vettel's number back in the day. Lawson, Gasly all behind, as well as Alonso, as we are well within these final 10 laps of racing here from the Qatar Grand Prix. And Norris had actually opened up a bit of a gap to Piastri, who is now falling into the reins of Max Verstappen. Can Verstappen get him for P2 and go run down Lando Norris? That's the big question now. As for myself, we are in the same exact situation that we were in the sprint. We had kind of gotten into a land of our own, and there's absolutely nothing going on. So we're just kind of cruising at this point because I'm too far back from Leclerc. I can't run him down, so what's the point of pushing 100%? And I'm very comfortably in front of Carlos Sainz, a good 4.5 seconds. So at this point, I was just managing the car, bringing it to the end of this Grand Prix. And yeah, I mean, that was all there was left to do at this point. But we didn't quite have the speed this weekend, as we take a warning for exceeding track limits, but we didn't quite have the speed that we showed in Vegas, where we had a very much a podium type of car. But as well, I mean, still, a great showing, at least for us. Aiden Jackson, things quite haven't gone his way this weekend, but we got one more Grand Prix on the season, and of course that's Abu Dhabi, and that's going to be a really exciting one. So I am definitely looking forward to just finishing off the season and seeing where Connosport, you know, specifically stacks up for season 2. A bit of a slider right there as we approach the final lap of racing here from Qatar under the lights, and Lando Norris and Piastri have both held on, but Norris is completely driven away. Verstappen's pace hasn't quite been enough here in the closing moments of this race. He's going to have to settle for third, it looks like, behind Oscar Piastri, Leclerc fourth, and us there in P5. Hamilton's now gotten in front of Alex Albon there, so he's split the Williams up, but it's all Lando Norris here tonight in Qatar. Now, of course, things went sour for him in recent races, taking his championship hopes away, but it hasn't ruined his spirits. Norris down the front straightaway wins in Qatar over Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen there in third position to round off the podium. As for myself, we'll round this final turn here for the 5th position, and rounding out the top 10 will be Esteban Ocon for the final point of the night. We'll take it P5. Nothing to hang our head over. We'll continue to push hard going into the season finale in Abu Dhabi, and I'm excited for that one. I think it's been one heck of a season it's turned into, and I don't see any reason why we can't end Abu Dhabi in this 2025 season on, you know, just a really high note. I am really excited to cap off the season and move on into the 2026 season, where I'm hoping to get a lot more episodes out more regularly, starting like literally this week. So the goal is to get like 3 episodes of F1 25, 3 episodes of the F1 My Career Mode, because I know a lot of you guys are really enjoying that career mode more than this one, as we take a look at the finishing order there. So once again, a pointless night for Mercedes. Jackson just never had it. I mean, 15th place, a very big disappointment. Antonelli, I think, has been hit by the glitch, because it says he DNF'd, but I can confirm he crossed the line, so I don't know what that's about. We've now overtaken our teammate of Aiden Jackson, finally on points. 5 points separate us to be the best finishing rookie of the season going into Abu Dhabi. McLaren have locked up pretty well the Constructors title as well going into Abu Dhabi. They have very much done it. So no fight there for any championship except between myself and Aiden Jackson. I'll see you guys in the season finale. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.